This video was brought to you by Squarespace. BOGO deals. If you ask the Pokemon community what they thought about the latest Pokemon Presents, what the majority opinion is, they will tell you that it was not particularly exciting. Those probably aren't the words they would use, but that's the gist of it. It was mostly comprised of the usual updates for the growing list of mobile games and the TCG and all that, along with a new trailer for Legend ZA, which was fine, but also not particularly exciting. The presentation did reveal one brand new, totally unexpected game, however, Pokémon Friends. That title, it really does not reveal anything about the game, does it? Weirdly vague. Could really mean anything. Pokemon's all about friends, right? Whatever. But the game is a puzzle game, and I would say the trailer did a very poor job showing it off, didn't it? I think they were probably trying to show how people of any age could play it, but starting with a little kid doing these really simple puzzles evoked the feel of garbagey kids' mobile apps from the very first moment. The good news, in a sense, was that Pokémon Friends had just shadow dropped. It was already available on mobile and Switch. Even better, the Switch version was $10, or regional equivalent, and the mobile version was, it seemed, free to play with the option to purchase all of the content outright, and no other persistent microtransactions. Okay, so that was actually a pretty decent sign. The whole problem with these mobile games is that each one wants to keep dipping into your wallet over and over and over again. And they're clearly all, by their very nature, largely geared toward kids. As a bit of an aside, I was this close to doing a video criticizing TCG Pocket, but every person I know was playing it and loving it, so I figured no one would want to hear me complaining about it, and I chickened out. That script is half finished and sitting in a document somewhere. I was actually writing it when I was really sick with that really bad flu last fall. If you can imagine me just sitting there, half delirious, just angrily just writing paragraphs and paragraphs about this evil Pokemon game. Yeah, probably for the best I didn't publish that one. Anyway, point is, a mobile Pokemon game that you can just buy, and then you have the game and play the game all you want, and that's the end of the whole transaction. It's actually kind of refreshing. Unfortunately, it turns out that calling the mobile version free to play would be overly generous. I downloaded it and gave it a shot. The game touts itself as kind of a brain training style experience where the point is to do a few puzzles every day to untangle your thoughts and whatnot. Which is fine on paper, I guess, but in the free version, you are only allowed to do a few puzzles per day. I hit a wall literally within minutes of booting it up. If you want to do more and make any kind of real progress, you've got to buy the basic pack for $10, which is what you get when you buy the Switch version. I think maybe they thought this free-to-play model was reasonable because of the whole one-a-day puzzle craze that Wordle spawned a few years back. I'll admit, I'm a guy who likes to do connections with his morning omelet, but it was immediately obvious that these puzzles just aren't that kind of puzzle. They start out as easy as something you would indeed find in a cheap kids app. One brief session a day really wouldn't get you anywhere. If you want to really play the game, you really essentially have got to pay. You can barely even call it free to start. It's free to take a tiny little taste once a day. And then here's another thing. You could still argue that $10 isn't too bad for a puzzle game. In this day and age, just about nothing is $10 anymore, right? Okay, well, apparently $10 does not get you the full game. Again, that is the basic pack. There are 2 additional content packs already available for purchase, and they are each $15, even more than the base price. You can get them all in a bundle for $34, which is better than $40, I guess. But now you're talking about a pretty steep investment. $34 for this game? Could that possibly be worth it? Well, I needed to see for myself, so I did something I really did not want to do. I purchased the Switch version. I didn't get the bundle. I did not get the bundle. I just got the basic pack. I did not like hitting that purchase button, but sometimes you gotta make sacrifices to do the really important work. And I wanted to know how far that $10 would get me. See if it was like a real game all by itself. So yeah, I bought the game and got to work. And yeah, let's get this out of the way first. If you can say anything about this game, it's that it does indeed evoke the feel of kid-centric mobile slop apps. It just looks so incredibly cheap. Mainly, it's the puzzles themselves. The art and animation is incredibly basic. The UI is like bog standard. It feels more like I'm playing the free Flash games of yesteryear. Anyone remember those? The kind of throwaway stuff you'd play on your browser on websites for kids' properties. It almost makes me wonder if this was a purposeful choice, because kids are like so used to games looking like this, so emulating the style is now a business choice? I don't know. That idea is a little too disturbing, so I think I'm just gonna set it aside and move on. It really does look bad, though. You could maybe argue that it looks this simple so that it will run on any device, but one, it could be simple and utilize mostly 2D assets and still look a lot better than this. And two, just look at the animation for the plushie machine and the plushies themselves, all 3D with their own physics. The contrast is consistently jarring. It is clear that most of the game's budget went into the plush thing. As for the gameplay though, the idea is that you do a batch of puzzles at a time, and at the end you get some yarn to make a plush with. Each batch will have you do 3 random puzzle types with a handful of quick puzzles of each type. The puzzle quality is all over the place. There are some puzzles that are a little clever. There are several that have to do with predicting shapes. Those are usually pretty fun. There are a couple here and there that I find myself looking forward to more than others. The Gimme Ghoul counting one. If I'm gonna shout out one puzzle, it's that one. You know what? That's a good one. But then there are plenty more that are just whatever, just kinda something to do. Whenever you do a puzzle, if your speed and accuracy are high enough, it levels up, and the next time you do it, it'll be a little harder. Which isn't really a bad idea. There's a decent sense of progression here. It's nice when the better puzzles start to actually get a little tricky. One problem, however, is that, like I said earlier, they start out like little kid easy, which, hey, also isn't so bad, I guess. Kids are allowed to play games. This is clearly a kid's game at heart. But man, my first hour or two with the game was a slog. Just nightmarishly boring. I came quite close to just giving up on the whole thing a couple of times. Then I also have a problem with the whole format. Quick brain training style puzzles that you do over time is a legitimate format, but I am personally really not a fan. It means that ultimately these puzzles are only challenging in that you have to do them quickly and without messing up. All by themselves, they're never hard. You just have to spend a few moments figuring them out. And yeah, I just don't find this kind of thing very fun. It means that the puzzles can be a lot simpler across the board. It means a whole lot more repetition. You'll do the same setups of the same puzzles several times. It really just limits what the puzzles can do and makes the whole thing a little stressful. I could certainly see this meshing with someone else, someone who does like the whole brain training thing. But even if I were one of those people, these puzzles, they still wouldn't be fun enough to keep me coming back. This is not Wordle as much as I think it probably wants to be. And that's the thing. The puzzles are so quick and basic that doing one batch a day just doesn't really work. You're talking 2 minutes of gameplay a day. So you buy the full thing so you can play as much as you want, but because the game is trying to be something that you play in short bursts once a day, it doesn't let you choose what you play. The only option is to play a batch of random puzzles. So again, this means a lot of repetition. It means if you mess something up, then you may have to wait a good while for another shot at leveling up a certain puzzle. You can replay old puzzles to practice them, which I guess is good, but it doesn't count toward your progress. It's just frustrating to pay for a game and still be locked into this randomized drip feed format. Before we continue, a quick reminder that this video was brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a website but have no idea how to build one, Squarespace is for you, my friend. The intuitive builder lets you put everything together, format and tweak however you want, all without writing so much as a single line of code. It's so straightforward, in fact, that even I can do it. You can make just about anything, a business page, a storefront, portfolio, content library, whatever, and there are a bunch of templates for all this to help you get started if you want. My site, Arlo Recommends, is a very simple blog, so I just draft up my posts, schedule everything to publish later, and even automatically push to social media, and I am done. Then I just sit back and watch the analytics roll in, resting easy in the knowledge that Squarespace offers lots of powerful extensions if my site ever needs some extra juice. To try out Squarespace for yourself, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. Then when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/Arlo to save 10% off your first website or domain. And now, for today's recommendation, Return to the Spectrum of Intergalactic Happiness by Zed's Dead. I haven't fallen for a pure EDM album like this in quite a while. The first few tracks in particular just send me, man. Thanks again to Squarespace, and thank you for your time. Please enjoy the rest of the video. So ultimately, if there is a point in doing puzzles, it's to earn that yarn and make plushies. I will admit, the idea is a little cute. The story is that you have all the yarn you ever need, but it's all tangled up. Doing puzzles is like the equivalent of the character untangling it, thus why you earn it at the end of each little batch. And the game equates all this with untangling your thoughts, like you do with daily puzzles. All right. It's clever. Then there's a different type of yarn for each Pokemon type, and that determines which pool you randomly pull from. Also a little cute. But that is where my appreciation ends. Decorating these little rooms with your plushies is a very simple affair. You got a little customization. You can earn some little items to place around, but for the most part, you're just putting plushies down in places and, looking at them, I guess. Really just more about collection than anything, I think. And this doesn't sit right with me. It's true that this isn't strictly a gacha game. The pulls are random, but you can't pay to pull more. You can play as many puzzles as you want and earn as much yarn as you want and keep trying over and over again until you get them all without paying any more money. However, it is hard not to look at things with a touch of cynicism. This is the Pokémon company we're talking about. Their entire MO is catching fans when they're nice and young and fostering a lifetime of consumption through the constant use of nostalgia. That's why they're bigger right now than they've ever been, because they create fans and keep them forever. This ethical gacha mechanic is a perfect springboard for all the other Pokémon mobile games, pretty much all of which feature actual paid gacha mechanics and other aggressive monetization. I'd say this is probably a good way to get a kid used to the whole idea. Maybe I wouldn't be feeling quite so cynical if the game itself didn't seem like a very cynical product. The low quality of the puzzles and the higher production value, yet still overly simple implementation of its plush system makes the entire game feel completely perfunctory. It's just so blatantly formulaic. Have some kind of game. Doesn't really matter what it is, just something that a person can play and tie a collection system to it. Assume that your customer is nothing more than a nostalgia-fueled collecting machine, and use that to get them to engage with yet another Pokémon thing. Cobble together something that looks like a dime a dozen kids app, and know that as long as the player can get a Pikachu and a Charizard to put in their little fake room, you've done your job. I mean, look at these puzzles. They're barely Pokemon related. At their best, you've got a Pokemon using its actual abilities in some way. Yes, Squirtle does squirt water, so a water-based puzzle with a Squirtle does make sense. But sometimes these are just whatever puzzles with Pokémon assets plastered on them. Sometimes the Pokémon are only on the background image, and the puzzle itself isn't even vaguely Pokémon themed. I want to say the only thing about this game that seems even remotely inspired is the whole brain training angle versus a more traditional series of puzzles. But even that idea is tainted by everything else, by the overall cheapness. Now I imagine they probably just did that to keep a person coming back every day, because that's how you create deeper habits and stronger associations. It's addictive mobile game 101. Keep them coming back, randomize the rewards so on any given day they might not get anything good, and now you've got yet another one of those products that chews away at a person's time in hopes of generating more profit in the long term. I want to be fair here. I try not to view things in terms of dualistic absolutes. I see plenty of other videos and social media posts and whatnot talking about how Pokémon Friends is a scam, especially since it costs so much more than $10 to unlock all the content. And if I want to be fair, I've got to admit that there may be an audience for this game. As always, I don't want to disparage anyone who does enjoy the game. If you can manage to ignore all the stuff about it that I happen to think is gross or just not even notice it at all, and you get something out of it, more power to you. Like I said, everyone in the world plays TCG Pocket, and I'm not gonna get on their case. And you could argue that there is some video game here. Even the basic pack has a decent amount of puzzles. Practicing them and growing their levels and seeing how good you can get, that'll probably amount to a good several hours, especially if you do come back to the game repeatedly and make it part of your routine. Then, if you do like collecting these plushies just because it's fun to fill out a collection, there you go. Again, in this industry, $10 really ain't too much. You could look at the other packs as the rest of the content, but you could also just kind of see them as sequels. They contain more puzzle types and more plushes to collect. You could take them or leave them. And if you did elect to take them, yeah, $34 is kinda pushing it, but I mean, I don't know, that would make for an okay amount of hours of puzzling, I think. Though, once again, my mind turns to the kids playing this game and perhaps for the first time seeing that shiny machine and hearing all those satisfying little clicks and clacks and the ball sound dropping down, watching as the Pokemon emerges in a flash of light, reveling in the elation of receiving this random prize, and immediately feeling that little itch to do it again. The other packs have more plushies in them? Well, of course I need those packs, parental unit. My favorite Pokémon is trapped in them. I must save it and put it in my little room. Maybe that's a little dramatic, but is it though? I mean, that is the point of games like this. That is clearly why this game exists. The only reason why it exists. Pokémon Friends is the most whatever Pokémon game possible. It is only a Pokémon game because it has a bunch of pictures of Pokémon in it, and it gives you your 10,000th chance to catch them all. I recognize, of course, that this is all real rich coming from me. Playing any Pokémon game is feeding into the system. I will admit, to a degree, I am a nostalgia-driven consumer just like everyone else. I do indeed enjoy seeing depictions of my favorite little monsters. Show me a JPEG of a Snorlax and I'll get that little warm, fuzzy feeling inside. Ooh, my childhood. And I can say whatever I want about this product. I will be putting down 70 big ones plus tax this October for a different product. And I'll argue that at least it's a real game. Right? Yeah, I know. I'm a part of the problem. But even if I do so hypocritically, I still have to call out this product for being just a little bit too gross. Too formulaic and cynical. A product that exists simply because Pokémon is so popular that it is never a wrong time to throw another product out there, and there is no wrong product as long as you can get a Charizard in it.